Welcome to Hinsdale Elementary. Ms. Sharon Claymars filling in for the principal today, who is out. Welcome, Sharon.
Thank you. I'm
Probably
glad.
first for you getting to do this.
It is, but I'm glad to be here. I'm very
Yes,
excited.
we're
I have
always glad to hear from Hinsdale.
a lot of good news, and I want to start by saying we're very pleased to be in the top 10% of the state in our academic performance, so we were very pleased with that. Although we know we have areas of growth to focus on, we are very happy about our continued progress. When we look at Goal 1, we have a couple of things that I know you've already heard a lot about today and probably will tomorrow, but we are spending a lot of time focusing on some goal setting with our students, not just when it comes to MAP scores, but that's certainly an area that we are focusing on. We have had a MAP parent night, and we've talked about goal setting during that parent night. And we sat down, Mrs. Ryle and myself and the teachers have sat down with each student. We've looked at what their MAP score was in the spring. We talked about fall goals, and then we did that again right before the winter assessment. But we're not just setting goals in MAP. We are doing it on a fairly more often, more frequent basis with things like word fluency, math fact fluency, students with their hot and cold reads, so they know on a weekly basis that they're making some improvement. Because if we wait just until MAP, sometimes it loses something with the students, especially the younger ones. They need a little bit more immediate goal setting and seeing some results from that. So we found that to be very effective. In fact, the end of last school year, the teachers that found it to be most effective and shared that with our staff were our Read 180 teachers, because they were checking the information on the computer more regularly and talking to students on a weekly basis. This is your goal for this week. And they found it to be very effective and shared that with the rest of our staff, and they've embraced that goal setting piece to be important for students to take some responsibility in their learning. So that is one area in Goal 1 that we're concentrating on. Another area, when it comes to our response to instruction, we made a little bit of a change this year. The last couple years, we had a pull-out program for interventions where teachers were pulling students out for reading fluency or for comprehension or different areas of reading. What they found to be a problem with that was that the teachers then didn't know where their own students were, how they were progressing, because they didn't have their own students for about 30 minutes of the day, about 3 times a week. So what we decided to do, and the other thing they were concerned about was the top group not getting the same kind of interventions, because we want to continuously challenge our kids that have a firm grasp on their skills. We want to make sure that they are continuing to grow and to progress. So what we've done this year is go to a differentiated learning model where the teacher will introduce a new concept as a whole group. Then teachers will work with a small group of students. While they are working with a small group of students, the other students in the classroom will be working on a differentiated activity for reading, for language arts in general. Now we've started that with our literacy model, and it's working very well, and we're hoping to continue that into math starting after winter break. We have some teachers who have already started using that as for math. A lot of them are using their MAP writ bands to make the decision of how to group the students. We're also using some of our formative assessment data that we get more regularly to decide how to group those students. So we found that to be very effective as far as making sure that everyone in the classroom has interventions all through. We are continuing to really focus on using our flashbacks on a daily basis, so students are not just getting the information once and then forgetting about it until spring testing. We're going back to hearing it over and over again so that they can see how all these concepts and ideas relate and review them on a continuous basis. As far as Goal 2 is concerned, we are looking at when we talk about a common understanding of quality of instruction, we feel like it really starts at the very beginning of the lesson plan design. And a few years ago, we implemented a lesson plan design model through a study of Grant Wiggins' research, starting with the end in mind and looking at taking the standard, and then how are you going to assess the standard, and then how are we going to teach that standard. So the teacher knows, what it is the student should know, how we're going to make sure that they know it, and then how we're going to present it in the best possible way. That was a big change for a lot of teachers who are just used to maybe just coming up with an activity that they knew they had done in years past. So we are still really working on having teachers understand the power of that, of making sure that the student knows what is expected, what the standard is, what they have to know, and then to make sure that they know that they got it. So taking that formative assessment and showing the students that they really did understand it, and for the teacher to know who didn't understand it so they can go back and then use that data to change their lesson plans if necessary. And that's the piece we're still working on. They have that formative assessment. Now, what are they going to do with it? What are they really going to change on a daily basis from those results? So that's the beginning of Goal 2, is really looking at the lesson plan design. And the other piece we are doing in our professional learning communities, where we meet on a monthly basis. We have a K through 2 group that meets monthly and a 3 through 5 group, so that they can share information, especially this year when we are spending so much time on deconstructing the new Common Core standards. It's good for third grade teachers to hear what the 5th grade teachers are going to be teaching, so they can really look at that alignment in the new Common Core standards. And those groups and those professional learning groups, we talk about how to know if the instruction's rigorous, because we talk so much about rigorous instruction, but what does that look like? So we've spent time talking about that. We talk about good questioning techniques. We've talked this year a lot about number talks, so that students know how to verbalize about mathematics, because that will also translate into writing about math. So those are the kind of things we share in our professional learning communities. We found those to be very helpful. Instead of just doing this as a whole faculty meeting, we've really narrowed the focus into professional learning communities, and it's different for intermediate and for primary. We have some different issues that we discuss. At that time, we look at data binders. We look to see where those students are that are struggling, what we can do. Sometimes we move them from a 2nd grade group of students reading. Maybe they need to work with some 1st grade teachers. So that conversation really is helpful in those professional learning communities. And just to touch a little bit on Goal 3, we have very good participation in our extracurricular activities. We have just about every 4th and 5th grade student involved. We do an activity survey in October. We see what they are currently involved in, what they would like to be involved in. Then we ask them to write down a list of some things that maybe we don't offer that they would like to see. We had several girls last year who I guess knew about Girls on the Run. They wanted that. We got that this year, and we have found that to be a wonderful program. Not only do the girls love it, but we had a lot of staff members become running buddies and encourage the girls when they were practicing, and it was really great for the whole faculty. The other thing is we have one of our Hanner's Heroes, one of our shining stars, has come over now and started a Spanish club for our kids after school. He was very interested. He was a former Hinsdale student. He's in an honors Spanish program at Dixie, and he wanted to share his love of Spanish with the kids, and so he started a Spanish club. And now we are looking at our best partner, having Thomas More work with some of our students after school. We have a group of girls that would like to start a dance troupe, so we have contacted some of the students at Thomas More that are in their drama and musical theater department, and they're interested in working with those girls. So we'd like to do some more of that.
Did I understand the younger children aren't involved in those activities yet?
It's just 4th and 5th grade right now. Yeah.
So do they look forward to that?
Oh, that's something that we talk about all the time with that yes, you can do in chorus when you get bigger, and yeah, we encourage them to look forward to that. As far as our positive behavior instruction with KCSD, we are continuing. This is our 4th year. We're continuing to work on our hallways, our cafeteria, and now we're moving into our buses, and that's something we're starting right after winter break.
How's discipline match up with years previous, prior years?
Well, our discipline is pretty good. We don't have a big discipline problem, and it seems like, things are going very well. Although, I think the KCSD is helpful even for us because we just have a general understanding of what is expected, so, the 0 level in the hallway and, how to treat each other with respect and things like that. So even though in the past our discipline was not maybe a big issue, now we know, what we're expected for everybody. Okay.
Your attendance is awesome.
Our attendance is awesome, and we attribute that to
Parents.
Very good parent support. We've always had very good
That's one thing you
support.
don't have to worry about to go there.
That's true.
Well, we thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you.
No, give Connie our best.
I sure will.
And we enjoy. Welcome, Ms. Barb Jingling from Fort Wright Elementary. Glad to have you today.
Thank you. Very happy to be here, as always. Just seems like
Go ahead.
yesterday that we were here. Well, got quite a few things. You have the packet in front of you that gives some of our general information, but I'd like to just maybe give us some things beyond that. Our enrollment, our current enrollment, I know that Mike always likes to know what that is. We are sitting at 515. We were projected at 494, so we are well over projection. Continue to have students enrolling even as we speak. Have a little bit of coming and going, about 30 students gone and about the same number in, so we're just about at equilibrium with that. We're sitting at about 43 to 44% free and reduced, so that number is just about the same as last year, a little bit higher than that. And our staff, we now have 3 5th grades, 3 4th grades, 4 3rds, 4 2nds, 4 1sts, and 4 kindergarten.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, so that puts us at capacity in terms of our building, including our 2 mobile classrooms that we got last year, which was wonderful. However, we are not busting at the seams, as people might say. It's just we're using every available space in the building. We now have our computer lab in the library. We're using the old computer lab as our Read 180 lab, which is a full-size classroom, which is awesome for that program. Gives them space enough to do their rotations and so on. We're using every small room for resource rooms, whether they be reading resource or special ed resource rooms. But things are going great at Fort Wright. We're having a great year. I'd like to think, right now, the way I would characterize it is that for our teachers, it's all starting to come together in a coherent way. Yay! A lot of the things that we've had in place before, they were doing their best, but now they're starting to see where it's taking us, and I really feel the major factor in that is MAP, and how it has really empowered our teachers to see that they are the dynamic part of the learning process. They are the one that makes the difference and when they make a decision about an instruction or an intervention, it makes a difference. So that brings me to my little graph, which I still have my first graders doing math testing this week, so I couldn't give you a math one, but I thought I would just go ahead and give you the reading ones because these just finished up on Friday. And what you have there on the graph is just so you can maybe get some sense of the data. Our little columns there are our grade levels, so grades 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you see the number of students, that's number, not percentage, number of students that are more than 1 year below the standard. So that we would be looking, for example, right now we're at the middle of the year testing, and so that would mean if it was a first grader that they would be performing at about mid-kindergarten or kindergarten or younger or earlier on the Rick Band scale. Same thing with first grade. Or second grade would mean that they're down in that mid-first grade range or more. you see that big spike there with the first grade being within. That just means that they're probably performing at beginning first grade right now, or end of kindergarten, so they're not a full grade level below yet. Pretty typical because you just have non-readers still, and that will go down, we feel certain. But what's really cool about that is you see there's only the one child over there who is more than one grade level below, and that's from a pretty needy group of kindergartners rising. So our first grade teacher, one of them came to me today. Actually, she came in and she's like, "Did you see these scores?" She was just so excited. She had written them all down, as they were testing. Some kids grew 40-something points on the RIT bands. I mean, it's amazing. That particular teacher's in a collaborative classroom where she is actually co-teaching with a special educator all morning. And that comes, with a lot of creativity and scheduling, to be able to free that teacher up. But it clearly is making a difference. So again, I think you can see when we look at standard or above is what we want. So if we think about that in our new accountability, we at Fort Wright are really, Tina and I have just, as we've talked with our council, we feel that our best way to get where we need to be is to really use the MAP test as our the way to map our progress, really, and map our chart our course for instruction. Our teachers are using the tools that go with MAP testing. They are using the Descartes system. They are looking beyond the big RIT band number. They are drilling down into that and finding what are the actual skills that the child is missing in a particular area in the subdomains of these tests, and they are planning accordingly. I think, again, a difference is that instead of an intervention block being a one time a day, 30 minutes, our teachers have moved to totally integrated intervention, where when they see it happening from day to day, they're pulling kids the next morning as part of morning work or later that day as part of instructional intervention to cover what they missed rather than waiting until Tuesday at 3 o'clock to do their intervention. You're getting old when, there's all kinds of jokes that go around about that, but you're getting old when I came into Kenton County School District in 1996, I did lots of in-service at Simon Kenton High School about differentiation of instruction as an assistant principal. I did Carol Tomlinson's work. It was all from ASCD. I mean, we did the videos, we did the how-to-dos, we did it all. And so we know what we need to do. The differentiation is not new, but truly, in our school for the first time, we are truly seeing differentiated Tier 1 instruction in every classroom. And again, I think it's because teachers have the data they need. They've always done their checklist. They've always done their own little, ways of doing, but with this MAP data and their own formative assessments, they're really able to see natural places for kids that are skills-based and readiness-based. And so they've got their small groups. As we've made out the rosters for the year, we used MAP scores to actually drive the rosters to ensure the heterogeneous grouping, and that they would have nice little pockets of 5 and 6 kids to be able to group kids from the bigger picture. So it's happening finally. Yay. The other part, I guess, that is helping us, or that is part of our overall improvement, is we are living tiered intervention. We are showing how important that initial Tier 1 instruction is, as well as Tier 2 intervention by the teacher. When we have a child who's not where we want them to be, teachers are putting in and documenting actual interventions, taking data on those interventions, charting those. So when we come together as a student assistance team, we are actually monitoring real progress and not just, well, yeah, he's doing better. Yeah, I think he's okay. We're actually saying, wow, look at how much he's grown. Wow, he used to not be able to add 2-digit numbers, and now he's being able to do that in 3 minutes or less, And that, again, I think is the part for teachers, that they just get so excited to see that the child is making the progress because of the plan they have in place. So, Tier 2, we do that in the classroom, but we also have a pretty extensive Tier 2 level of intervention with other service providers. We have the Read to Achieve grant, which we know is funded at least for one more year. Our teacher in Read to Achieve is serving 60 students per day for an additional 30 minutes of reading instruction daily. Our title budget is supporting a full-time teacher who's doing the Read 180, System 44, as well as a full-time aide who is working 2 hours in kindergarten, 1 hour in each of the 2 classrooms, half hour morning and afternoon. She also does about 2.5 hours a day of pull-out instruction for those first graders who really are still really struggling with basic skills and not ready yet to go into RTA. And then we were able, not through title funds, but just through when we got our little bump because of increased enrollment, we did hire another instructional aide who is working part of the time in the reading, in the Read 180, and then is collaborating in math in 4th and 5th grade. So we feel like when we looked at the names of kids, the numbers here that are below that have names attached to them, none of them are surprises. They're all in our interventions. They may be in Tier 2 interventions. They may be in Tier 3 with special education, but they are not, wow, what happened to that kids? And we have seen growth. But that's the part of the accountability system, the new one, that's going to be interesting to see how it all pans out. Because we've seen growth, but when we see these two on the left here, they're still not at standard. Even though this is not the state standard, MAP is highly correlated to the Common Core standards. And we would know if we were looking at this that these kids are not going to be where we want them to be on the state test, and therefore would not be at that achievement point that we want them to be. So we're continuing to focus with our teachers they do common planning, actual collaborative planning weekly. On Thursdays is our one day with our kind of staggered schedule, since we only have three days of art, 3 days of music. It's kind of hard to get all of our 4 teachers together at one time. We can only do that one day a week. And so they meet and they collaborate with their planning. And Tina and I, either both of us or one of us sits in on that planning. It really helps us to hear the struggles, the needs, the resources that might be needed, the celebrations of that. We're also focusing on really having our teachers hone in on the I can statements, the learner targets in the classroom, not just as something you post on the wall, but something that's integral to the actual instructional segment. So that's another key. And we also continue to believe that we have so many models in our own building. We have outstanding teachers at Fort Wright Elementary. And so we are doing our best to get teachers in other teachers' classrooms. They do learning walks with us. We do that about once a month, where we walk in just one classroom during their planning time. Takes about 15 to 20 minutes, come back out and debrief using the PPR. And they love that. We also have them to where they are asking us, I really would like to get into so-and-so's class and see how she's doing that. And we've made that suggestion, and they've done it, but now we're to that point where they're like, I really want to see that. And it's like, yeah, that'd be great. We'll be happy to cover it. So we're covering each other's classes to make that happen, or getting subs for that purpose. And then the other thing that they're doing that is amazing is that we do once a month, we try to get a video of our teachers, and that's how we start our faculty meeting. We go in and we call them Oscars. Outstanding strategies create academic rigor, and we just do a little clip of a teacher and show it, and then we just debrief on it. We have some guiding questions to talk about, what the focus of that was, whether or not that was, a great evidence of accountable talk, or whether that was great evidence of formative assessment or a particular reading strategy, whatever it may be. And again, that gives the teacher who's doing it a little pat on the back, and then the others can learn from each other, because we know we have that great thing. Just one last thing about Goal 3, and that is we started a group this summer that we call Team Falcon. And when we did our survey, we did a survey as well in early November, this group we envisioned are the kids who sometimes could be kids who have great leadership potential, maybe aren't using that to the positive way, or kids who really just need that positive peer interaction and some interaction with an adult, but also have difficulty, maybe because of circumstance, family circumstances, finances, not to be able to participate in after-school activities. So we had a summer meeting we started a kickoff over at Woodland. They opened their doors for us, and it included one of our bus drivers, Mr. Jerry Ferguson, the most outstanding, if you want to call him that, building operation supervisor. Jerry, Tina, myself, our counselor Lindsay Wilson, and our Family Resource Center person, Brandy. And we just did some team building things there. We had invited like 15 and only 6 were able to come, which again, because that had to do, I think, with transportation. But since then, once we started school, they've taken over our recycling initiative as a service. And they also take care of our bird feeders outside, which Ms. Clough got as part of a grant, so they feed the birds each day. And kids are like, oh, I want to be on Team Falcon. Can I be on Team Falcon? And to see these kiddos, be able to be part of this group, they just, like twice a week. I think they do the paper twice a week, and then they do the bird feeder once a week. They just meet with Jerry in the hallway, and they get run into their classrooms. And these are some of the children who you may see more often than not receiving some gentle reminders about behavior, and they feel so proud of themselves in this service orientation. So for our 4th and 5th graders, if they were on Team Falcon, we said, absolutely, that's something you can put down on your list. And for some, that was it. We also saw names of kids who couldn't put anything down. And our next step for that is to really target them very specifically and try to find the best any way that we can, because we're just so lucky at Fort Wright, and for many ways. But we have a phenomenal parent support system at Fort Wright. I did want to mention that we've gone from one portable smartboard in fall of 2009 to 15 wall-mounted smartboards at an average cost of $5,000 a piece. And that's come from 3 fall festival fundraisers from our PTA, and my goal is always to match whatever they can, whatever they raise. I do my best to match that out of school funds. We've had a couple grant opportunities through Vicki and a couple donations. Of course, our goal is to get one in every classroom, but it's amazing the learning that's happening as a result of technology integration. But we're proud of that, and we know that if we can get our parents who can be active and generous, which are many, connected to some of our parents who may not have transportation and so on, providing rides for kids, we think we can really make a difference, and our Frisky grant's going to be focusing on that next year. So we're happy.
How do you focus on that to get parents to help other parents?
Well, it's amazing. I think to me that the way you do it is not by doing a broadcast email or whatever. It's about going to individual people and saying, I have a family who, I have a mom who, and that you need to bridge that in a personal way. This year we also did something that had been bubbling in my brain for a while called Friends of Falcons, and it was asking for people to adopt a child basically for the whole year, because we were going to touch, I think, 123 children in our family giving tree, our holiday assistance tree this year, and that's about the same as last year. And the generosity at this time of year it overwhelms you when you see it, and the families who come walk out of there with bags and bags, and we're not talking, we're talking essential items, in many cases. But I was thinking about these kids who, when the teacher puts the book club order in every month, and my daughter always got book club every month. I've got more books, scholastic books in my house. And here's this kid sitting there saying, I wish I could order a book, a $2 book, and teachers would pay for that out of pocket often, or give their free books to children. But so we did this Friends of Falcon, and we had 24 folks step forward and adopt anywhere from a $25 to a $75 donation. A lot of grandparents who stepped in. And that got kids different levels. We got everybody up to a gold level where they got to go. They got tickets for the fall festival, a Falcon shirt, the little extras, a yearbook, things that families may not be able to do. So I feel like, Mike, there are people there more than willing to step in and assist. If it's a question of transportation home from a ball game and they live in my neighborhood, I can drop your daughter off or I can pick them up. And if we just make some of those personal connections, I think we can get more kids involved.
Thank you.
Any other?
No, but
Questions?
we thank you very much. Thanks for coming and good ideas, a video clip, and, we just love hearing all those things.
Good.
Thank you.
Well, stop down anytime, because we love to have visitors.
I know that. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
We are happy to be here to present the progress that Beechgrove Elementary has made and also to discuss some programs and strategies that we have put into place to continue that improvement. If you look at our non-academic data, the percentage of students receiving free or reduced lunch was slightly over 50% last year, and it's above 60% this year. Our Family Resource Coordinator, Mrs. Goodman, continues to work with our families to reduce those barriers to learning. Our free reduced students traditionally perform very well, and we feel like the Family Resource Center has a huge impact on their success. Our school population as a whole met the No Child Left Behind goal in reading and math, and our free reduced students also met that goal in reading and math, so we were happy about that. Our special needs population was at 22% last year, and that population did not meet the No Child Left Behind goal in reading and math. So this is a huge area of focus for us this year. And if you look at Goal 1, we have many strategies in place to see that all of our students perform at or above grade level in literacy and numeracy. All of our students did take the MAP test in the fall, and you can see the data for each grade level in your report. Our administrative team got to meet with each student individually during this past month to discuss and graph the individual MAP data from the fall, and then to set a goal for our winter test. We also talked to our students about strategies that they can use in the classroom to help them improve, and also strategies, test-taking strategies that they can use to improve their MAP score. And basically, we're wanting to create a culture that all the students can learn at high levels, and the school-wide focus is on growth this year. And whether you're below grade level, at grade level, or above grade level, we want to see growth with all students. And we've had many happy students coming to us the past week or so, coming up just so excited because some of them had exceeded their goal, 20 points or 10 points. And just to see the look on their face, because we want them to all believe in themselves, and we know how important that is. And then all of our teachers are using that MAP data along with their exit slips and the common assessments to plan their lessons, and then to look at remediation, small group instruction, so that they can get the necessary, if they need remediation or if they need to practice those skills that they need to master. Our staff is also working to embed that response to instruction into the daily math and reading instructional blocks, along with providing the research-based strategies and the programs during their grade level RTI time. Our special education teachers are working with the classrooms to address the achievement gap with both math and reading. With math, our interventions include the Compass Learning, and then Fast Math, a computer program that focuses on math fact fluency, because we felt like a lot of times that was getting students bogged down. And our teachers are trying very hard to get students on once a day if possible, especially those students that really need the practice. And then with reading achievement gap, that's being addressed through the Read 180 for the 4th and 5th grade students, System 44 for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students, Read Naturally, the Sort of Success, Orton Gillingham. And then our teachers, we're looking closely with our teachers as they monitor the student progress through data collection of their IEP goals, and then the formative and summative assessments to determine whether or not the interventions are successful. And then if we're not, we're looking at this, either layering those interventions or maybe even stopping one, starting another, just depending on the need. And then as you look at Goal 2, the actions being taken by Beechgrove to increase student achievement focus on still using those I can statements, the daily formative assessment, teaching key vocabulary, the spiraling, constructed response, and then exposure to both the passage-based and the standalone prompts for the on-demand writing. Our teachers spent many hours of professional development to ensure that the learner targets in the form of those I can statements match the new standards. And the I can statements continue to be posted in the classroom and referred to throughout the lessons. And then those students are expected to prove their understanding of the learner target through the exit slips. And teachers are using the results of those exit slips to design, develop lessons, and then interventions when necessary. We're also working very carefully to make sure that those exit slips are not only rigorous, but they are aligned to the course standards. We're working with teachers to have students, and this is something that we're just starting, to have the students share their learning through the weekly wrap-up. We've had some teachers who have done this in the past and been very successful, where the students have to write about the learner targets of the week, and then they have to give examples of tasks that they've completed and how those tasks relate to the standards. The teachers they use that key vocabulary aligned to the standards throughout the lessons and throughout the week, and then they expect those students to use that key vocabulary in class discussions, in their written assignments, and then in this weekly wrap-up. As mentioned before, the use of map data is very important at Beechgrove. We also use that map data as far as implementation of that spiraling and those flashbacks. And flashbacks are expected to be used in their daily lessons, and they're designed with an intentional emphasis on some of those subdomains when we look at our map data where there are weaknesses.
Okay, and as a part of our action plan to increase student achievement, our instructional coach trained our teachers on constructed response questions and answers. The teachers were instructed on various types of constructed response questions and were able to analyze these types of questions, which may be given to the students on the K-Prep. Teachers continue in our building to use live scoring to help children obtain a 4 on extended response questions and to obtain a 2 on short answer items. Our goal is to give our students the skills and confidence to be able to answer a constructed response item to the best of their ability. On-demand writing continues to be an area whereby we do analyze data yearly to look at student strengths and weaknesses. A plan of action begins each year by reflecting upon the ELA timelines per grade level and the writing continuum. Students are being asked to participate in scrimmages throughout the school year to complete writing tasks in both passage-based prompts and standalone prompts. We want to be able to give our students as many opportunities as possible to be able to write for a purpose and also to emphasize strong content in every piece that they publish. PPR walks is one way that we plan to monitor the actions of our action plan stated for Goal 2. As administrators, when we conduct our PPR walks, our emphasis is to observe the intentional teaching of vocabulary, spiral review, and formative assessment. And the level of rigor in classrooms, we look at that as well, and we try to analyze that along with the alignment of learner targets to the Kentucky Core Academic Standards. We look at lesson plans and we see if those activities listed in the lesson plans are matching the new standards, and also if there is an emphasis on RTI taking place and being embedded in reading and math. Flexible groupings of students, we expect them to participate in activities that are differentiated per group within our classrooms. We like to have these groupings outlined in each lesson plan, and hopefully those groupings are created based upon the use of map data, exit slips, and common assessments. And our school focus for positive behavioral instructional support is to utilize the CHAMPS program. And the CHAMPS program is based upon teaching school-wide expectations and common area procedures. And we currently have an active CHAMPS committee that meets once per month throughout the entire school year, even during the summer. And the focus of our committee is to use data to make informed, proactive decisions. We have been working on making videos to share with our students, outlining the procedures for the common areas, and so far we have the restroom, cafeteria, bus, and hallway videos completed, and that is a process that we're still working on. The committee is actively also working on a series of lesson plans to help teachers implement and review common area procedures, and included with that will be a schedule of when these plans are to be implemented. As well, within that schedule, there'll be a system of rewards also outlined. Currently, students are able to earn character counts tickets and earn a weekly prize if they've received a character counts ticket and their name is pulled out of the hat. We use our data as well to help us identify students who experience difficulty following the school-wide expectations. And those students are invited to a leadership camp that we hold in the summer. The CHAMPS camp works with students to help build self-esteem, social skills, and also to help teach them how to make overall good choices. Our current data through the month of November indicates that we are down 35% with office referrals from the 2010-11 to the 2011-12 school year.
And with Goal 3, our current participation rate is at 75% for our 4th and 5th graders. And we continue to just look for ways and things that they're interested in. And those include right now visual arts, performing arts, sports, and then academic teams. And if we look toward testing and meeting our No Child Left Behind goals for 2012, we will continue to work with our staff and our students to set goals to make sure that we use the strategies and programs that we have discussed to meet those goals. And through this process, we hope to ensure growth for all students and then continue to work toward reducing that achievement gap and having all of our students reach proficiency or higher. Any questions?
No, you did well. What's your number?
We're a little bit lower. Let's see, at the beginning, I think it was 695 last year. I think it's right around 660 this year.
Do you recall what your attendance was last month?
Last month,
In
it
the
was
past.
right around 97.6, I think.
I'm just wondering, if the less referrals to the office has any correlation with attendance?
Well, I don't know that it does necessarily. I just think a lot of the supports we're trying to put in place to really help kids learn and follow the procedures. But we also have a lot of support and things that we put in place to try to get kids to come to school every day and be there every day. So just, I think, working hand in hand, trying to do both and just trying to get them there and then follow the expectations when they are there. It all works together and goes hand in hand. If we can just get them there, then we're doing good.
Yeah, you're doing well.
Are you the only school doing champs?
Yes,
I don't know
they
for
started
sure.
with CHAMPS before.
Before we do KCSD?
Yeah, it was kind of a growth, because CHAMPS is more the classroom setting, and then they're working out. So, yeah, they're the only ones. There may be some that are doing pieces of it, pockets, but not at school-wide like Beechgrove is.
And what we've done down there to the plant and everything is working out well. You still need more room and other things.
Well, we're always lacking with storage.
What do you need?
With small areas, and then, we're lacking with that. But right now with classrooms, we're okay.
Yeah. The playground and all that. got
Library.
moved around, right.
Library, the playground works. We're very much landlocked
Yeah. right.
where we are.
Did we do something with the gym?
We're working on it.
We have a nice new gym floor,
Yeah, we got that.
and that much
Painted.
improved our gym.
Thanks.
We feel like we work very hard at Cawood to try to be successful. We're very proud of the fact that we made our No Child Left Behind goal this year, and we're going to continue working. We know that the goal is always in front of us and always important to us. But I wanted to start out with just as I kind of go through my talk, this past week I think we picked up 15 students since the Thanksgiving break. So we're up to right around 728, 730 as we continue to grow. But as I go through this, also I'm looking at the math data, and it's the data in itself right now. We're already starting to analyze our second testing session. But what is so good to see, and the culture that we're starting to create, is our kids are saying, they're coming up to us and saying, "Hey, I made my goal. I've been successful. Or I went up 3 points. I went up 4 points." And it's so good to see that culture there of our kids really getting into it, because we've spent an enormous amount of time setting goals with them, meeting with them, challenging them, and making sure that they see how important it is to be successful and how important their education is. And as I go through this, I'm going to drop over to Goal 1. All students will perform at or above grade level in numeracy and literacy at each transition point. Some of the things that we have put into place is, right now we have Read 180 and System 44. We've actually expanded that program to include a couple more sessions so that we can actually see and help those students that are at risk. Last year, I think we were the only ones in the area that had a third grade Read 180 group, which we saw an enormous growth in that. We were really pleased with that. So just really felt good about that program, so we've actually tried to use some of our funds to actually extend it to help support our kids in reading. Goal setting. We have met with each of our students that we're having concerns with to actually find out why they feel they're not being successful and what we can do to help them, and just conference with them, talk with them, and get a feeling of, it's so good for them to come out and say, you know, if I reread that, I would probably have done better. And so that's making them aware of the things they're doing, and it's really helping with that process, because if they see it and can internalize it, they are going to be more successful. Next, our Title I program. We're trying to reach out to more students. We've also added this year with our program. We've tried to get into our intermediate grades to help support them, because we are finding some of our fourth and fifth grade students are having difficulty. So the combination of Read 180 and our Title I, we're hoping it'll help those students be successful. Also this year, we purchased the Math in Focus program. We felt like with the everyday math program that we were using, that we had a lot of gaps and just a lot of supplementing. Was really concerned over the fidelity of the program. And as we researched Math in Focus, we felt like it more correlated with the new standards. It would give us more of a concrete curriculum support so that our teachers could use that in the classrooms. We're seeing a lot of good things going on right now, so we're really feeling comfortable about that. Our Ames Math, we're using that to support some of our students and use that for assessment and support within the classrooms. One of the big things we're really dealing with a lot this year is, and it's, as all schools are, we're concerned about students and getting rid of some of those barriers for them. And I really want to applaud our Family Resource Coordinator, Leah Langdon. You know, that's just such a key spot, and she has really picked up and helped families, supported families in all aspects, and we're just really good about that. And just one thing I want to say about our staff, we were talking about, you know, it's Christmas time, exchanging gifts. They started on themselves to say, you know what, we have so many needy families in the area. Let's don't do gifts for ourselves. Let's put that money toward the FRC so the FRC can help more families in our area. So I was really proud of them to do that without an administrator initiating it. They took it on their own. I really feel good about that. This year, in our response to instruction, or RTI plan, it's been an adventure to go through that whole process with our staff. We have a lot of young staff, and you know we've asked them to do a lot more, and we're expecting a lot more because we feel like this is the approach. So in our building, we have, at least in every grade level, we either have centers, or we have pullouts, or we have cluster groups that are supporting our at-risk students. And so I really feel comfortable about that. We've worked very hard to accomplish that, and just really, it's good to see when we go to a grade level meeting, it's good to see the conversation that's taking place with our teachers. How is this student doing? You know, it's time. He's being successful. We need to move him up to the next level to be able to do that. So a lot of those good conversations are taking place when we meet in our grade levels with our teachers. And that's the key to them being successful. If our teachers really take that on as part of their job, they will be successful and our kids will be successful. I'm not going to go through all of these steps of the RTI. Just I want to make you aware of how we're implementing it. On Goal 2, it says all professional practices will be based on a common understanding of quality instruction and best practice for every student in every classroom every day. One of the things that we really worked on very hard last year, almost every Wednesday we met with our PLCs. We really worked hard on it. It was administrator driven, so to speak. Well, this year we've pulled back and we're seeing the benefit from that. Our teachers have taken it on. We asked them to turn in an agenda, and it's obvious to see that their agenda is focused on student and student progress, student data, not on housekeeping items. And so it's really been good to see them initiate it. When we go into a PLC, we go on and sit down, and it's obvious that it's talking about students and what can be done to help them become successful in each content area. So we're really pleased with that whole process. We want that ownership of the PLCs to be with our staff, not always be administrator directed. Next is one of the things we're striving to do is to take that data and analyze it enough to get to specific skills, because we feel like that's going to be an area where we need to move next. If we have 5 students who are having a concern in one skill area, we want to be able to pull them, be able to work with them for a brief amount of time and be able to target that so that they can be successful. And I think that's our next step in our whole process with the RTI block that we're doing and in the interventions we're doing. I just feel like that's the key for our next movement. We're doing that to a certain degree, but I don't think we've pinpointed individual skills that can be addressed in a short 20-minute block and then go on to the next area of concern. I feel like that's our next step, and that's how it should evolve as we look at our plan for this next year. The PPR walks. This year our PPR walks have been more targeted. We're looking for our learning targets as we go into there, and our teachers are starting to bring those forward. You're seeing those. We're seeing that even posted in centers about the room. If they have 5 centers, there is a learning target posted there, because we just feel like that's so important to be able to do it. We also are looking for if they're bringing it up during their lesson presentation. That's another key situation for them to be able to do that. And the last part is we're looking at student engagement. If we have students that are not involved, what can we do to make sure that they are involved? Because when you have 18 or 20 students, you want to see everybody involved and be successful. So we're also looking at those things when we go into the classrooms. Goal 3, we're at about 87% of our students are participating in an activity after school, whether it's any kind of basketball or any kind of academic team or anything. And we're real fortunate we have a 21st Century grant, and that is pulling a lot of our kids into that process. And what we've done this year, last year we had 3 large sessions, and we felt like we didn't get to as many kids. So what we have done is we've broken it up to 6-week sessions and offered new things each time, so that number kind of rolls over, and some kids are interested in, like this next time, we'll have kickboxing. And I was a little apprehensive about it, but we sat down and met with the people who are doing the program, and what was really amazing is a lot more girls get into the kickboxing than boys do, because they like that activity. So we're anxious to see that. But adding new things every 6 weeks, and what that is also helping us do is helping us to perpetuate that program, because we're concerned about the financing down the road. Last year, there was no new funding or no additional grants were funded, so we're worried about that continuation of that grant. And by breaking it up and charging a little bit each time, that's going to help us perpetuate that program, and we're really happy about being able to do that. Instead of 2 years, maybe 3 or 4 years to be able to continue that program and have it support itself. Okay, I've talked about that. Next is our positive behavior in our KCSD. What we've done this year is we're basically going through updating our lesson plans. We felt like they were a little bit outdated. We're also looking at videotaping and having those so teachers can access those on the web to present them in the classroom. Also, we had to get new staff up to speed with that process. And one big thing that we looked at was each time we're out, if we're out for a break, 2 to 3 days, when we come back, we need to go back over some of the guidelines to remind kids what to do and how to make those good decisions. Also, in the areas that we're doing, we're getting ready to, in January, hopefully we'll be able to expand to our bus drivers. We're in a situation where we've inherited 2 new bus drivers, so hopefully our staff will be there and be pretty well set for the January break after that and pull in the bus drivers so we can work with them as far as moving out of our building and into the buses to help support the drivers and for those expectations that we feel like our students need to have on the buses also. I feel good with our program. We do a lot of incentives. Just very, very important for us to be able to do that. We've noticed that our serious behaviors are down. We're also doing a better job of keeping records to see what buses and what situations that we need to monitor. That's been real helpful about targeting certain areas at certain times during the day so we can help prevent some of those things. But our kids really get into it. They want to be recognized. They want to get those free gifts and things that we have for them to be able to recognize them for good behavior. And just all of that, it seems to help with that process. We've also looked at our dismissal procedure. Last year we dismissed all at one time, almost chaotic, and made us all feel uncomfortable. This year we broke it down to about 3 different stages. That way we're not waiting, the late buses we can hold back, and actually we do it in 3 waves, and it's just been so much more successful. We've had the Y and the parents going first, then our first load of buses, then our second, and it's improved greatly. We have less and less kids missing the bus and less concerns going to and from the bus. And there's one other thing that I don't have on here, but I do want to talk about it, is our work ethic program. This last report card session, we recognized 185 students for being successful, their attendance, their behavior, work, not always being a superstar, but also being a good friend to someone and helping support, and working hard, being successful, and not having problems. 185 of our students we recognized. We had an assembly during the day around 2 o'clock, and we had over 400 parents attend. And I'm just so proud of that. Each time we do that, our parents come out and our gym is almost full. It's so full that we can only have the students that actually win that recognition to come down, because we have so many parents that are able to come and make it a special event every time we do it. So we'll be doing it 2 more times this year. And it's just been a fantastic opportunity for us to be able to recognize our kids and build that culture, that positive culture that we want to do. But just really successful at what we're doing, looking forward to next year, trying to make sure that we target the areas we need to so our kids will be successful. Cawood will be successful. Any questions for anyone?
Where do you think your growth is coming from? New students, that's a lot of kids.
It is a lot of kids, and what we're seeing is young families moving back in with grandparents. And one situation, I know that there's 5 kids in one household, and that's what has happened. They've moved back in with that. We still have a Hispanic population that continues to grow also. So that's another area of growth, but a lot of it is moving back in with parents and grandparents. Yeah.
And I liked hearing about the kickboxing for 6 weeks. Would you keep us informed as how?
Yeah, I'm anxious to see that and see how it goes, because you kind of, when I first thought of it, I was a little uncomfortable, but then we sat down with them and talked through the whole process, and they have done it before with younger kids, and it's been, I'm anxious to see, yeah.
Years ago, we had boxing in our schools, and Christmas, we had a party, and I was talking to a neighbor of mine, went to Covington Latin, and at 15, another neighbor whipped him twice in boxing, so he learned, I'm not going to be a boxer.
Uh-huh.
Graduated from school at 15, but he did go in the Marines.
Yeah. See, well, even we're doing archery, which I was a little uncomfortable. The kids, but they like it, and it's a controlled situation, discipline. You have to do this step and this step, and it all, make sure that they're safe. So, at our age, when we were in school, they had the rifle clubs at school and did all kinds of things, but we've gotten away from that. But the archery has been successful, the boxing I'm anxious to see. But we've also done microwave cooking and taekwondo. So all of those things lead to expectations of good behavior and discipline, which helps reinforce what we're struggling to do.
I've heard some mention integrating the bus drivers into.
Yes.
That's our next step.
More
Yeah.
into the school, and one suggestion I might make is, or ask, has any administrator or teacher ever ridden a bus recently with the bus driver home?
Yeah, a lot of our elementary
Yeah.
principals jump on the bus.
If there's a problem, all of our principals will get on their ride home, and you need to do that and support them.
But I'm not talking about problems, I'm just saying as part of your walks,
Mhm.
why not include that in the walks? Because I think it has many rewards. The kids go home and tell the parents,
Yes, yeah.
my teacher rode, my principal rode, or whatever.
It's a thought. It's a good thought. I have done it, and I know other administrators have done it. And you're right. It shouldn't be just because there's a problem, but also as
All right.
they care enough about me to be on that bus. Okay. Now, you mentioned something about, we're kind of landlocked at where we're at. We could use about 3 more classrooms. I have music, PE, and library.
I forgot that question.
Music and PE and library, I'm sorry, music and art
Wait a
are
minute,
on
you've got
wheels.
a new school now, what are you saying?
I'm just saying we could use probably 3 or 4 mobiles out there in that middle section, so we can we need a good place to have art, and also we need a music room. At least 2. I would be satisfied with 2, possibly, because we have those people on wheels, and they've done a fantastic job, but there is it's hard on them, and I think sometimes carting from room to room
Oh, it is
makes a
Christmas.
big difference. It is Christmas. Anyone else have any more questions or anything?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.